Hi everyone, welcome you all. So in the today's video, let us try to understand what are the different type of assertions are provided by Playwright. So basically the assertions will be used to perform certain validations on the web page. Now let us quickly see their documentation and what are the assertions they have provided. And if I go to this page, test assertions and list of assertions they have provided. So all the assertions are available in the expect function, and we need to pass required locator and the corresponding methods we have to call. Like for example, checkbox is checked or not, or element is disabled or element is enabled or not, we can check. Okay, and similarly, the element is having a text, contains a text or not, we can check. And there are so many other assertion methods are there. So let us try to discuss some of them, which are very important and very frequently used in our automation. So what I can do is I have listed out very frequently used assertion, 10 different type of assertions I have taken. Now let us discuss one by one practically. So let's go to VS Code editor. Now I'm creating a new spec file and I'll name it as assertions.spec.js. And before writing any test, we have to import test and expect functions from the Playwright test module. So for that, I'm going to use require keyword. So inside the required, we have to specify something called @Playwright/test module, and that we can store in const variable. And two functions I require from that module, only two functions. One is test and then expect functions and then equal to. So first we need to get these two functions from the Playwright test module, and then we'll start writing the test. So now I'm writing the test by using test keyword. So I can just say test. And in this, we need to pass two params. The first one is title of the test. So here I'm writing assertions test, and then you need to pass one anonymous function. So include this bracket, and before anonymous function, we need to write one keyword called async, and this will take a page object. So I can just pass page and then arrow function. That's it. So now we have written one test method. So in this, so we need to close this bracket. So in this, we need to write our actual code. So the first thing is what we have to launch our application. So to launch our application, so we need to first open app URL. So for that, what we need to do, we need to call one method called goTo. So page object dot goTo, and here we have to specify the URL of application. Now I'm trying to use this application. Let's go back to your application browser, and this is the registration form I'm trying to use. So I'm trying to apply different type of validations on this particular elements. Okay, so now, so whenever use page object, we have to use await keyword to solve the promise. So await page dot go to, and here we have to specify the URL of the application. So this will navigate to the page. Fine. So now let us start writing the assertions one by one. So the first assertion is ExpectPage dot have URL. So whatever the application URL we have opened, so if we want to validate that URL is correct or not, we can use this function ExpectPage dot have URL. So basically what this function will do is it will check the page contains a proper URL or not. Okay, so this is a first assertion. Let me try to use this assertion. Expect page to have. So how we can verify is expect, same syntax. So expect page object dot to have URL, and here we have to specify what is the URL you are expecting from the page. So the same URL I'm expecting from the page, and then you can specify this. And before using this expect function, we should always use await keyword. Okay, so this is a one assertion. So what this assertion will do, this assertion will check whatever the app URL we have opened, that page contains the same URL or not, it will verify. So this is one type of assertions. Expect page dot to have URL. So let us try to save and then let us try to run it. Go to new terminal, and to run this, we can say npx playwright test, and test name is assertions, and this assertions is present in the test folder. So I can say test/assertions.spec.js, and I just want to run only on the Chromium, and in the headless mode directly I just want to run, so I'm not specifying the headed mode. So once you run it, now it is started execution, and now my test is got passed. Okay, this is one type of assertion to verify the URL of the application. Now let us look at the next one. So expect page to have title. So we verified the URL of the page. Similarly, we can also verify the title of the page. So the title is correct or not. So this is another type of assertion. So let us try to do this. Expect page have title. So page has title or not, we can verify. Simply what you can do is await expect, and we can pass page object dot to have title. And here we need to pass the title. So what is the title of that particular web page? So if I go back to the page, we can find the title in the dev tools itself. We can just go to header tag, and here this is the title. So this is the title of the page I'm expecting, and the same title you can also display in the tab here. Same title is displayed on the tab, so that we can capture, so that we can pass this. This is your expected. So what exactly it will do? So it will check the page title is this one or not, correct or not. This will verify. So this is another assertion. Now save it and then execute one more time. So my assertion is got passed. Okay. So this is one type of assertion. Now let me show you one more type of assertion. Suppose if you want to check whether particular web element is visible or not on the page. So before performing any action on that web element, we can check whether that element is visible or not. So for that, we can use this assertion expect locator dot to be visible. So this will basically check the element is visible on the page or not. So this is another assertion. So we need to pass the locator of the element, and then we have to call to be visible. So this will check the element is visible or not. So for example, let's go to that application. I want to check this particular logo is present or not. So let us try to inspect this logo element. And if I go to selector hub, and you can take any of the locator, XPath or CSS, whatever you want. And currently this logo is having alt property, and then it is also having store, and this img is actually the part of this anchor tag, and this is again part of this div tag. So I'm trying to use this one class attribute. So to locate this element using this class attribute, you can just say dot and header hyphen logo, right? So header hyphen logo. So this is the class I'm using, header hyphen logo. So this will able to match that element. So whenever you want to use a class, and you can simply represent that as a dot. This is a CSS I'm trying to use with the class. Now try to locate the element first. Okay, so I can say logo element I want to locate first. So how we can locate the logo element? First we need to say await. To locate the element, I can use page dot locator, and then specify the locator whatever you want to locate. So this will return the element, so that I'm going to store in a variable. Let's say logo element, and I make this variable as a const. So now we need to check this element is visible or not. So to check the element is visible or not, we need to call that function. So we can say await expect, and what is the element you want to check? This is a logo element. So that you have to pass in the expect function, and simply say dot to be visible. To be visible, that's it. So first we need to capture the web element, and then we can pass that web element in the expect, and then we can check to be visible or not. So this particular function you can apply for any type of the web element. So this is all about to be visible assertion. We can check any element is visible on the page or not. So now we can just execute the same test one more time. Yes, now my test is got passed. Assertion is got passed. Okay, so now let us move on to the next one. So the next one is we can check the element is enabled or disabled. So visibility is different. Okay, enable and disable is different. Suppose if the element is enabled, we can perform certain action on that element. If the element is disabled, we cannot perform any action on that element. Okay, that is the difference. So if you want to check any element is enabled or not, sometimes you will see some input boxes. And if the input box is enabled state, then we can pass some value into it. If it is a disabled state, we cannot pass it. So how we can check the element is enabled or not? So this is one more, and this is opposite. To be disabled also we can check. Enabled or disabled also we can check. Now let me capture this. The other assertion. So we can check the element is enabled or not. So for that, what you can do is I'll take this element, search store element, inspect this element. And on this element, this is basically input box. Just I want to check which is enabled or not. So for this element, there is ID attribute available. So I'm just writing CSS for this ID. So ID is representing with hash in the CSS. So now this is a locator I'm trying to use to locate that element. Now I want to check this element is enabled or not. Okay. So first we need to capture that element in a variable. So for that, I'm using await page. And here we have to pass page.locator and pass this locator and capture that in a variable const. This is a search box. This is search store box. And now we need to check this element is enabled or not. So we can directly call this function. So await expect. And here we have to pass this element search store box. And now we can check which is enabled or not. Dot. So we can simply is to be enabled. So this is a method. So this will check that element is enabled or not. If that enabled, my assertion will pass. If it is not enabled, then my assertion will fail. So this is another type of assertion. So let's try to execute one more time. Save the file and then execute. Okay, now my test is got passed. So if you want to see the report, like all assertions are properly executed or not, because it's not clearly showing in the output in the console window, it is simply say only one passed. But how come we check all assertions are executed or not? We can simply execute this command. It will gives the report. Let me try to execute. npx playwright show ifun report. So this command will automatically generate the report. Now we can just look at this. This my test is got executed. If I double click on this, or if I click on this, see here how many assertions I put. Expect to have URL is got passed. This is one assertion is got passed. And then this is another to have title is also passed. And to be visible is also passed. And then finally to be enabled is also passed. So if you want to see each and every assertion is successfully executed or not, you can just open the report by running the command and then you can cross check like this. Okay, fine. So now let us move on to the another type of assertions. So the next type is, so similarly to be enabled, we can also check to be disabled. So this is a negative assertion. Now the next one is whether the radio button or checkbox is already checked or not. Sometimes the radio buttons, we can select only one radio button. We can check one radio button at a time. And if there is a checkbox groups, we can select multiple checkboxes. So if you want to check whether the radio button or a checkbox is selected or not, or already checked or not, right? So then we can use this assertion. So we can pass the radio button or checkbox locator and to be checked. So this command or this function will check that radio button or the checkbox is selected or not. So for that, what we will do is, this is a fifth one. Let me copy this. Okay. So now we'll see how we can verify the radio button or checkbox is got selected or not. So for that, on the same page, what I'm going to do is, there are two radio buttons are there. So currently there are two radio buttons are there. I have not selected anything. So by default, none of them are selected. Okay. So what we will do is, we will try to select one of the radio button, try to click on one of the radio button. Let's say I just want to click on male radio button. And after selecting this, then I will check the status of this. That means whether it is checked or not, I want to verify. Okay, so what we'll do is let us inspect this element, that radio button, and there is ID is available. So I can write CSS directly for this ID, and here in the CSS selector hub, I'm just writing ID means hash and gender male. So this is a locator which is got generated. Now I'm trying to use this locator to locate the radio button. After that, I will perform the click action. Then I will check the status. So how to get that element? I can say await page.locator and specify that locator. So this will give you the element, radio button element. And I will store that in a variable. Let's create one variable called mail radio button. And this I will create as a const variable. So now I capture the radio button. So before checking the status, I will perform the click action on the radio button. So take that element dot click. This is a function we have to call element dot click. And again, we have to use await to resolve the promise. So mail radio button dot click. So this particular command will basically select radio button. It will select the radio button. So after selection, I want to check whether it is selected or not, whether it's checked or not. Then we can apply one assertion. I can say await expect, and what is the locator? We already captured the radio button. So this is the element. You can pass this. And now we need to check whether it is already checked or not. So dot to be checked. So this is how we need to apply the assertion on the radio button. So this is for radio button, right? So let me also show you checkbox. Now on the same page, we have one more checkbox element is present here, the newsletter. So by default, it is selected. So we no need to select this newsletter. So now I want to check the status of this, whether it is already selected or not. So we can use the same assertion on the checkbox also. Let me select the checkbox. And there is ID is available, newsletter. So we can just try to use this newsletter ID as part of CSS. Now it is matching. Now get that element. So now I'm showing you checkbox. So get that element. How to get that element again? Say await page dot locator and specify that locator. So this will give you the element, and I will name it as newsletter checkbox. And I will create this variable as const variable. Now I want to check because this is already selected, so you don't need to unselect. So now I want to check the status of this checkbox, whether it is already selected or not. So what I can do is I can apply the same functions. Await, expect, await, expect. And in this, we have to pass this element, newsletter checkbox. Okay, newsletter checkbox. And now we can apply to be checked. To be checked. That's it. So this is how we can check the radio button or a checkbox is already selected or not by adding the assertion. Okay, now save the file and let's try to run one more time. Let me close it. Okay, so let me run this command. Yeah, npx playwright test /assertions.spec.js. Okay, now it is successfully executed. Now let me show you the report. npx playwright show -report. So now the report is got generated. Now if I open this, click on the assertion test. So now we can see expect to be checked and expect to be checked. So these two assertions are got passed. Okay, so this is how we can use these assertions. Now let's move on to the next one. So we can also verify a specific attribute is present for that element or all not. That also we can verify. So we can check the particular attribute like type or ID or name, whatever attribute is there for that element, we can check that the attribute is that particular element is contains that attribute or not, we can check. So for this assertion, expect, we need to pass the locator dot to have attribute. So the element is having attribute or not, it will check. Now let us try to use this sixth one. So expect locator to have attribute element attribute is there or not, we can verify. Okay, so for that, what you will do is on the same page, I have register button here, right? So let's try to inspect this register button. And for this register button, there are multiple attributes are there. You can find type attribute, name attribute, ID, class, and so on. So I want to check particular attribute is present or not. So for example, I want to check type attribute is submit or not. So this particular attribute is having for this element or not, I want to check type equal to submit. So for that, what you can do is we can get that element first. And how to get that element? So there is ID attribute available. So I can just take the help of this ID to locate the element. So ID means hash we can use in CSS. Now this will able to locate the element. So now first get that element here, page dot locator, specify that element and that element await. So this will return the element. This is basically a register button. So I can create one variable called register button and await and constant variable, co constant variable. So now we capture the element. Now this element is having type attribute or not, we can check. Type attribute should be what? Submit. That we need to check. So for that, we can use this assertion await, expect, and we need to pass the locator, right? So this is the element we have to pass. So expect that element dot to have attribute, and what attribute are expecting here is type attribute you are expecting, and what is the value you are expecting for the type attribute is submit. So that you can specify like this. So now what we have done, we have captured the element, and for that element type attribute submit or not, we can verify by adding this assertion. So what is assertion name? To have attribute. Element is having particular attribute or not, we can check by using this assertion. Okay, now save it and then execute one more time. Okay, so my test is got passed. And if you want to see the report, you can just go to the report and you can click on it. Now you can see expect to have attribute is got passed. So this is how we can verify particular attribute and value for the element. Now the next one is to have text. So this is the different. There are three different methods are there. Seems very similar, but they are not exactly similar. You can just look at here. To have text, to contains text, to have value. There are three different assertion functions are there. To have text, to contains text, to have value. So what is the basically difference is to have text. So when I use this assertion, it will check element matches the text or not. So that particular element is always having some inner text. So that text we can compare. And the text is actually same as whatever we provided. So that should be equal. And to contains the text means what? It will also check the same thing. The element text we will compare, but it will not, we no need to provide the complete text. So it will check the partial value because the contains function which is working here. So this should be exactly match. This is a partial match, we can simply say. Okay, so first we will see these two methods and then we will go to the next one. So to have text, to contain text. So let us try to explore these two assertions. So the first assertion. So the first assertion, to have text, and the next assertion, to contains text. So these are the two different type of assertions. So now first of all, we will see this one. To have text. So to have text. So I'm trying to use, let's say if I go back to the registration page and I have something called register heading, right? So this is basically heading of that page. So I want to check this particular element, text is equal to register or not. So you can just look at the dev tools, the HTML of this element. You can see register, this is the inner text of the element. So now I want to check this particular element is having same text or not. That means the text value is register or not, equal to register or not, I want to check. Okay. So for that, what we can do is let us capture this element. If I look at this, this seems like a button, and what else it is there? So register button item. So it's still not located actually. So go to register label. Now you can see h1 tag is there, and h1 is a part of the div tag actually. So this is the parent, right? So first we go to the div tag page title, and then I can access h1. So page title is basically class. So what I'll do is dot page title. So this will able to match page title element. Inside this register h1 tag is there. So I can give one space and then h1. So this is the way we can create a CSS. Now page title is a parent element. Inside this h1 is a child element. So this will exactly point to that element. Now get this locator of that element. So how to get this? Await page dot locator, and this is the element, and that element I can store in a variable, or we can directly put this inside the assertion. So directly I'm writing the assertion. I can say await expect, and inside the expect I'm directly writing the locator. If you want to store this locator in some other variable, you can create. So I'm directly passing the element inside the expect, and this element should have text value as register. So I can apply this function to have text. So when I use to have text, we have to pass the complete text value, not a partial value. Okay, this is a assertion. So we need to pass the locator of that element and dot to have text. So whatever text this element contains, the text should be exactly equal to whatever we provided here. Then only this assertion will pass. And suppose I don't want to provide the complete text. I want to pass some text, partial text. So then you can go with the toContainText assertion. Same thing, but this time we don't want to pass the complete text value of the element. So same expect await page.locator, same element. And instead of to have text, I'm trying to use to contain text, to contain text. And in this, we no need to pass the complete value of the text. You can just pass some partial value of the text. So that is the difference between to have text, to contain text assertions. Same element, we are checking the text of that element by using to have text assertion. And for the same element, we are also checking same text by using to contain text assertion. So here we need to pass a partial value. You can say partial text, and this here we need to pass full text value. Okay, that is the difference between to have text, to contains text. So basically both are doing the same thing. It will check the particular text value is associated with the element or not. Okay, now let's execute, save, and then execute. Here, and then I'm running the same test. So my test is got passed, and now if you want to see the report, I can execute this command npx playwright show -report. So if I click on this assertion test, now you can see the last two assertions, expect to have text, expect to contains text. So both are got passed. So this is how we can verify the text content of the element, the text content of the element. Now, so let us move on to the next assertion, expect locator to have value. So this is another type of assertion. So with this, we can check the input box is having some value or not. Suppose there is an input box which is having some value in it. So that value we can check. That value is correct or not, we can check. So to have value, this is another type of assertion. Now, let me use it. So expect locator dot to have value of value, input has value or not, we can check. So for that, what you can do is, let's go to the page. And in this, let us take any element. So here there is an email address field input box is there. Currently it doesn't have anything. So if I locate this element, so there is ID is there. So I will locate this element. Currently there is no value in the input box. That input box is empty. So what I can say, star hash email, so that this is CSS to locate the email element. So I locate this element and then I will pass some value in it and then check, then I will verify the text is correct or not. So let's capture the element. Await page.locator, and this is the element, right? So in this element, I want to pass some text. So before that, let me store that element in a variable const email input box, or you can say email input. Now in this particular element, I want to pass some text into it. So take this email input dot. So if you want to provide some text in the input box, I can use fill function. So in the fill and then provide whatever you want. I can just pass something. Let's say test@some demo.com. Okay, something I can pass. So whenever you use any way, any elements or expect anything, so you have to use await keyword to solve the promise. So await email input dot fill. So now what I have done is I capture the email element, which is input box. And inside the input box, I provided some value. Now I want to check the input box is having same value or not. The input box is having same value or not, I can check. For that, you can use this assertion. I can say await, expect, and pass this element, whatever element you want to check, pass this element. And now we can add the assertion to have value. To have value, and what value you're expecting here. So whatever the value we have passed into the input box, the same value we are expecting here. So both should be exactly matched. Okay, and this is how we can use this assertion. So expect locator dot to have value of value. So this particular assertion used to check the input box is having right value or not. Okay. Now, so let us try to execute and see the assertion. Save. Then execute the test. Okay. So now it is got passed. Now, if I look at the report again, so in the assertion test, so the last one, expect to have value is exactly matched. Okay. So this is how we can use this assertion. To have value of value, especially for input box, we can check the value is correct or not. Okay. Now, so let us move on to the another type of assertion. Expect locator to have count. And especially this will be very, very useful for drop down. So drop downs. Sometimes the drop downs are having multiple options, right? So if you want to count how many options are there in that particular drop down, or it can be combo box, you can check multiple options. Sometimes drop downs, you can select only one option at a time, right? So in that particular drop down, how many options are available, we can check by using this particular assertion. So let me try to use this. The next one. So the next assertion, to have count. To have count, it will basically check the list of elements has given length. So the length is correct or not. So for example, on the same application, and there is a drop down called date of birth day, right? So they're having 1 to 31 numbers are there. So I want to check how many total number of values are present inside this drop down. How many total number of options present inside the drop down I want to check. So for that, what we can do is we need to first get all these options. So how to get all these options? First of all, we need to get the locator of this element, inspect this drop down, and there is a name attribute is there. So let me try to use this CSS select is a tag name equal to date of birth day. So this is the locator of this date of birth day drop down. So inside this, there are multiple numbers are there. If I expand this, you can see multiple option tags. So I want to capture all of them. So I can simply say space option. So you can just look at this. This is actual drop down, right? This is actual drop down. And in this, there is an option is available. Okay, so there are so many days are there. So let me take month also, no problem. So date of birth date of birth day and date of birth month is also there, right? So let me take month. So take this month or date, whatever you want. So you can just take the month. And this is the locator of this element. So name equal to month and then option. So 13 elements are matching currently. 13 elements are matching currently. So there are 13 elements are actually 12 months, which is also counting the first option month. So totally 13 are there. So now I want to check the dropdown is exactly having 13 options or not. Okay, so capture the element, locator elements. For that, what you can do, await page dot locator and specify the locator, whatever you created. And this will return all the options, multiple elements. You can say options. You can use this locator method to get multiple elements also. Okay, so you can use for single element, multiple elements. So can you say options const? So now I captured all the elements into this variable. Now I want to check this element is having, this variable is having totally 13 elements. So for that assertion, we can use this assertion. You can say expect. I can say await, expect. And the locator we already captured, options, and specify that locator. And dot toHaveCount. toHaveCount. And here, how many are you expecting? I'm expecting 13. So I can just say 13. Okay. So this is how we can verify total number of elements. Similarly, if you want to find total number of links on the web page, so then you can specify the XPath or CSS, which will match with all the links on the web page and then count. So let's say you're expecting 10 links or 20 links on the page, then you can specify. Similarly, if you want to verify how many total number of images are there in the web page, then you can write a locator which will match with all the images which are present on the web page and get all the images in this variable and then check how many are there. So this is assertion will be very, very useful to have count. Currently 13 elements are in the dropdown. So I'm just saying 30. So same thing you can apply for different scenarios. Now save it and then execute. Okay, now it is got passed. Now if you want to check exact assertion is passed or not, you can just run the report, open the test. Now you can see toHaveCount is exactly matched. Okay, so this is how we can use these assertions very commonly in our automations. So like this, there are so many number of assertions they have already provided. So you can just go to the documentation list of assertions and you can just play with them. So there are multiple type of assertions are there, and some negative matches also there. So negative matches in the sense, so normally we use expect locator, right? So you can also use not dot. So for example, if I look at this, expect page dot toHaveURL. So same thing you can also write like this in the negative way. So you can say expect page. So we can say expect, this is a syntax, dot not. So here you can say expect page dot not dot toHaveURL. So like this you can use. Same thing for here also, expect page not dot toHaveTitle. So that's a negative testing we can do. So negative assertion we can put. So for every expect function preceded with the not. Okay, for example here, expect locator dot toHaveCount. So we are expecting 13 is a count here. So if you want to put the negative assertion, you can write expect. You can write negative assertion like this, expect, and then whatever locator you want to pass, you can just pass the locator, and instead of toHaveCount, I can say not. Okay, not dot toHaveCount. So like this you can use negative assertion. So for every type of assertion function, we can use not. Okay, so these are all different type of assertions they have provided, and you can play with the rest of the assertions. It's very simple, very easy. And whenever you do, you want to perform certain validations on the elements, then you can use this assertion. So all the assertions are available in the form of expect functions. Okay. Again, there are two different type of assertions are there. So whatever assertions we have discussed here, all are comes under hard assertions. There are two kinds of assertions, hard assertions and soft assertions. So whatever assertions we have discussed here is called hard assertions. And we also discuss about soft assertions. The basic difference is in hard assertion, suppose if any assertion is got failed, it will not execute the next assertion in the same script. It will terminate your code. Okay, that is a problem with the hard assertion. Suppose you have written 2 to 3 assertions and first 1 or 2 assertions are got failed, rest of the assertions will not be executed. That means it will basically terminate the code. But instead of using hard assertion, when I use soft assertion, it will not terminate the code. Even though soft assertion is got failed, it will not terminate the code. It will go and execute the rest of the code. So in the next video, I will show you how to work with the soft assertions and what is the difference between hard assertions and soft assertions. Okay, that's all for this video. So let's play with this, all the types of assertions with this example, and we will see in the next video. Thanks for watching.